And I remember just being overwhelmed with gratitude because I didn't have like human thought or feeling. I was just this being. But in that moment that I chose to come back, I was like, oh my God, it's such a gift.
Welcome, Ellen. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Definitely looking forward to this conversation. And just to get started here, could you give us a little bit about your background? And then you also had a near-death experience. So if you could go into that and then what you experienced on the other side.
Oh, absolutely. So, my background is I am a board certified music therapist, and I also have a master's in transpersonal counseling, which is spiritual psychology. Everything that I do stemmed from my near-death experience. So, I'll start there. I was 12 years old and I loved riding horses. And on this particular day, the cinch wasn't tight enough. So, the cinch, which is the belt underneath the saddle to hold the saddle in place, slipped and I fell to the side of the horse. I eventually fell off and the horse kicked me in the temple. And I was in a coma for 5 days. And it's the Waco Hospital in Texas, near Dallas, Fort Worth. I started at a different hospital and they sent me to that one for their neurological team. My parents were told to like play movies at my bedside because they're like, there's really nothing we can do other than maybe play movies. And so on this particular day, and this is pretty important, they chose a movie that was mostly music. But me, in my coma state, I had a very powerful, profound, life-changing experience. I found myself on a raft of sorts. It was like a wooden raft, and Jesus was in front of me, and there was a man on my left standing next to me, and he had long brown robes and bare feet, and you know, he was kind of middle age. I felt very safe with him. He was of normal build. And so I didn't recognize him, but I felt very, very, very safe. And immediately from that place, I was lifted into this golden light. And the golden light was this beautiful energy. It wasn't a place, it was a feeling. It was an experience. And at first it was like this warm blanket around my energy. I didn't have a body, but it was this like really weighted, warm energy. And I just remember melting into that golden light, and nothing mattered. There was no name for it. It was complete love, it was complete wholeness and bliss. And it was powerful. Before being in the golden light, I did see another realm. It was like there was music and light and color. And I talk more about that in my book, but the golden light was where I know I was meant to be. And it was just so beautiful. I then found myself back in front of Jesus, and he was wearing more simple robes, like simple white robes. And I remember him communicating with me through his thoughts. And I don't, I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I was given so much information about this earth and why we're here and what matters and doesn't matter. And it was like lifetimes went by in this moment. And I remember him communicating with me very simply, like, do you want to stay or do you want to live? And my soul wanted to stay because I felt whole, and I felt at first like I was like, oh, this is so whole and complete. But I was shown the trajectory of my father's life and just basically told he won't live through the actualization. He won't like actualize his life if you stay. And so my soul chose in that moment, like, to live. And that is when I got this like massive download. Like, we create our reality, that we're more powerful than we think we are, that most of what we think about is a distraction from the light that we are. And I remember just being overwhelmed with gratitude because I didn't have like human thought or feeling. I was just this being. But in that moment that I chose to come back, I was like, oh my God, it's such a gift. Like, it's such a gift to get to live. And I knew that not all souls got to do it. There were so many things I knew, like things about this planet, things about people in my life, things I just knew. And I remember like vowing, like, oh my God, if I get to come back, I'm going to give thanks for every every experience, no matter what. And I knew it wouldn't be easy, right? But I'm like, I'm going to give thanks for every experience. And I vowed to come back and heal people with music. And this is when it gets really cool. Like everything went dark after that. And I was like in this kind of like warm but dark place. And I saw this music staff in the distance. And it was like the notes were just moving. I couldn't hear anything, but each note was a different color. And I watched it. It was so far. And then it just kind of came through me. And in that moment, I thought there was nothing, but I very, very, very vaguely heard this tiny, tiny sound. And it was like down to my right. I remember it was below. It was like a pinprick, right, of sound and light. And I focused everything I had on that sound. Like I just, every energetic part of my soul just connected. And I was able to pull it louder and louder and louder until finally it was so loud that the only thing I could do was just like I forced my eyes open, like to try to just force my, and I was in the ICU and the nurse came over and I was out of the coma. And my whole life from that time I was 12 is like how do I honor my how do I honor my vow, right? To come back here. And so since then my entire process has been like this journey of like returning to that vision, even like my education and finding out who the man was next to me and all of that was like what led me to be who I am today. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, and that can be like very scary, going through, with the horse and then the coma. And yeah, it kind of takes me back to a moment like when I was in my 20s and for my birthday, they took me horseback riding on a trail. And they had a trail dog which came up behind the horse I was on out of everybody and spooked the horse. This horse bucked up, my first time on a horse by myself,
Yeah.
and took off. I couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
And I could have fell off. Anything bad could have happened to me, as well. But thank God for whatever reason I was holding on and I couldn't. Trail person had to come up and stop. So it can be very scary situation for sure. Did you ever after that try to get back on a horse, or was that kind of a done deal for you?
Well, absolutely. It's interesting. I don't remember that day. I don't
Mhm.
remember what happened, and I don't remember before that. Like there have been some conversations I've had with some people in the near-death studies kind of world that wonder if I maybe brought back a different soul or soul fragment, and I wasn't scared. I knew somehow it was supposed to happen. It was part of my life, and I would have loved to ride horses, but my parents weren't really up for it after that. They were like, no, because I think before that, my dad said, he said, well, I was going to get you a horse, but I'm not getting you a horse now. So, um, but yeah, I mean, of course, I've heard that horses are the animal that can directly affect our spiritual path, one of the only animals that can do that. And
Mhm.
so I honor that. The soul of horses are absolutely beautiful. And my daughter rides now, and I will go and watch her and talk to the horses. I love them.
Beautiful. Yeah. I have a white horse in spirit. Yeah. So
Oh,
definitely I do hear that they're very spiritual beings. So definitely agree. And then how long did like when you came back and awake, how long did it take you to heal and integrate everything? Because with near death experiences or spiritual transforming experiences, a lot of times it takes a while. I know for me, I had a near death experience, not from a horse, but from a dark night of the soul, which then ended up going, further into the near-death experience. And it took me about 10 years to really start talking
yeah.
about it and integrating, and because I went through a lot of different experiences.
I told people right away in my close circle what happened. It was so profound. It was more real than this is, to be honest. But I didn't start sharing it publicly until I was in my 30s, and I got invited to go and speak about my wild and precious life. I had 2 minutes to talk about what I'll do with my wild and precious life, which is a poem that most people know. But I talked about my near-death experience, and then it kind of like went viral on YouTube. It was like 900,000 views or something. And I was like, wow, people really need this. They're really interested. And it was after I left my marriage. I left my marriage to my first husband, and it was then that I really dove into my spiritual gifts more. It took me, I came back with special gifts, and most of us do. I knew things that were going to happen. I could kind of read. I couldn't understand what people were saying because of my brain injury. Everyone was moving way too fast for me. So I had to adapt, and I moved into that intuitive reading kind of energy. Um, I I integrated with my friends. I was really interested in like the signs and synchronicities and things like that because I could see the patterns and the synchronicities very early on, but I don't think I really integrated fully until I was in my early 20s in grad school. And I went to this school called Naropa University. It's an accredited program, but it was originally founded by the Dalai Lama as a Buddhist contemplative based school. And when I was walking up to meditation class, because it was we were immersed in meditation practices, my near death experience was my why. But Naropa gave me my how because first of all, I was walking up to one of my classes, and I saw a depiction of Buddha, young and thin and bald, long brown robes with bare feet. I was like, that's the man who was near me on the raft. It was across from Jesus. And so then I learned the practice of being present, and I started to learn meditation practices. And then my gifts really started to come online. I started to see colors around people and like understanding deeper meaning. I could access that higher realm. And I came across this process of using classical music because I woke up to classical music. It's called the Bonnie method of guided imagery and music. It takes people out of body so that they themselves can meet with guides and loved ones and angels on the other side and come back with messages. So when I experienced that the first time at Naropa, I was like, this is the closest I've been to my NDE since it happened. And so I use that as part of the process now. That's kind of the trajectory that my education took. And then I've been through many different experiences, like dark night of the soul kind of experiences. I was trained in how to hold people through that at Naropa. And so I personally use that. Any experiences that I witness or have of pain in my life, I turn them into purpose and put them back out there for people to see and to learn through. So, it's a continual process for me because this is life, right?
Mm.
And even now I've been, supporting the healing of my husband as he goes through his dark night of the soul from, ironically, a major brain injury and neck injury and back injury that he's been recovering from since 2 weeks after our wedding.
Um,
So it's like, using these experiences to somehow find the gold in order to help people and help them access that higher power.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting that he's also going through that. It's almost like learning so you can help others. And that's kind of how my journey's been is, you
Yeah.
know, I feel like I'm also told by the spirit guides, you can't help somebody unless you've been through it.
Yeah.
And so that's part of our journey, to be and help others as they go through it. And it's definitely a journey that's unfolding, and a hallmark with a lot of the near death experiences I found, we do have a lot more spiritual transformative experiences after that, like Kundalini, dark night of the soul, different things like that. And it's really interesting to see it unfold, and everybody's experience and journeys a little bit different, but there's just a lot of hallmarks that are generally the same, and
Yeah.
kind of
That's
like you.
that's very true. Like it's really interesting because I just filmed a new TV show. It's called Life After Life with Ellen, and I interview different near-death experiencers, and there are themes. Like, and not just the ones we know, that like there's this sense of gratitude and know we're here on purpose and we have a reason and we create our reality. That's all it. But we're also finding that many of us who got to make a choice knew coming back that it might not be easy, but we choose it anyway because our soul comes here to expand our light through the earth experience, through the school of earth. And then there are all these like kind of synchronicities in how we receive our gifts. Like I might see a spirit speaking to me when I'm getting my nails done that's coming through for the person across from me, and another time I might get like an image of that I know as like that I understand the meaning of, oh, I'm getting the color like yellow. This is, or I'll see a rose, or I'll see water, or I'll see things that represent like something to them. And so I've been finding that, yeah, we all come back with a knowing, and we all
Mhm.
come back with an ability to not need as much sleep, to have a higher perspective when we go through stuff like this. There tends to be an adaptability, a lightness, especially with young near-death experiencers. If it happens as a child, we come back with a different energy. It's a fascinating thing. There are so many great studies out there, really.
Mhm.
You're right.
Yeah. And a lot of people's lives totally change. And it's almost like, I know for me, it's like I'm a whole different
Yeah.
person. Like I don't even know that person who I was. And it's like, okay, is that a walk-in or am I just that changed from my experience? It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, we go
Everyone.
through like,
Everyone's changed. Everyone
yeah.
has changed. The hallmark of walk-ins, from what I understand, because um, I met with someone who was studying it for the International Association for Near-Death Studies for a book. Um, it's usually a complete loss of memory before. Like I don't know who I was before. I don't know if I changed. I believe that I did. And also when I'm leading sessions, my voice changes. So it's only when I'm like in front of my bowls and really channeling. I mean, I think maybe that's like a different any, other people can do that too, but there's a quality of holding multiple like light, like
Mm,
holding uh yeah, so I don't know. Before I was asked these questions, or before I even thought had heard the term walk-in, I had a reading from someone who said, "Oh, you left a fragment of your soul behind so that another soul could come in, and you're retrieving it." I was retrieving it in that session with her, and it was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." But I
wow,
never did get my memory back. I never
wow.
did like remember the first day of school or birthdays or anything like that. I had a very few memories that came through, if any.
Right,
It
right.
would be nice.
Yeah.
I grieved that. I grieved that a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can see how that happens because like I'm kind of like, oh, I really like that person.
yeah,
But it's just part of the process.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we go into the void, we have the love, and those are other hallmarks of it. A lot of people see Jesus, Buddha, other masters, angels, things like that. Did you hear the music when you said when you were in the coma part, was that like the void or where do you think that
No,
was?
the first realm that I went to was different than the Golden Light, and I
Mhm.
don't know how long I was there, but I was there long enough to see that there were trees of different colors, like not colors that we have here, and the water was a different color, and there was music playing that was not of this planet. It was
Mhm.
like beautiful, ethereal, very, very different music that I wouldn't even know how to create. And then I was lifted into the golden realm. I didn't hear the music until the 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 staff kind of went through my head, and then the only thing that was there was this almost inaudible sound of music, and then it became really, really loud. It was Tchaikovsky. It was,
Mhm.
yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah, I hear people talking about that. I don't remember that from mine. But
yeah.
yeah, definitely. And I was going to ask is, are you channeling, that music or how is that music coming to you?
Well, I'm a music therapist, so I use the crystal bowls. They kind of came to me in an experience even after my training at Naropa, but I use like a blend of live and recorded music, mostly classical, to invoke those states of awareness. So when I use crystal singing bowls, everyone's heard of binaural beats, but they might not know what it is. And binaural beats is basically brainwave entrainment through a computer or through headphones. Brainwave entrainment is when it's in person. And basically, what's happening is your brain hears one tone in one ear, another tone in another ear, and your brain actually creates a third tone inside. There's a totally different sound. And when that happens, you can access like theta brainwave states and gamma, and maybe even delta, go into a sleep like restorative type of sleep. That's when people enter into the transpersonal realm, and that's where I really shine because I'm getting messages, I'm helping them, they're telling me what they see, and I help guide them through any like clearing that they might need to do in the physical body or in the emotional body in order to receive messages directly from source. So people will see loved ones pass, they might see angels, light beings, they'll find themselves free and euphoric. They'll find themselves completely connected to something greater. And so for me, that's even more powerful than sharing my story because thank it's just thank God, like I'm in this amazing space of being able to actually help them get there themselves, right? Know it for themselves. And so that's why a lot of experiencers come to me because they want to, when we've been to a place like that, we want to experience it again. And
Mm,
so they'll come to me to access that light as well. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's important to, I think because along my journey, I was helping with Reiki, helping people utilizing my abilities. And then at some point, it was like teach them to fish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Instead of doing it for them. So I kind of changed everything, and I helped them to do it for themselves. So that's really important. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why transpersonal psychology? How does that fit into everything? Because like when I came back from my near-death experience, I was actually doing a nutrition degree. And when I came back, the angel said to go into psychology for myself as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel that fits into what you're doing with the singing bowls?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, the foundation of transpersonal psychology is that it doesn't go by the traditional like existential humanistic or like behavioral, none of that. It actually it brings in the soul, like the spirit, the belief in something greater. It focuses deeply on altered states of consciousness. Everyone's like spiritual belief, whether they have none or they have like a full-on belief in one religion or that it is all the same love, it still informs their personality, their experience, their psychological expression. So, in order to really dive into that work and kind of understand the whole person, transpersonal psychology just fits for me. And the beauty of it is that there are many studies about altered states of consciousness, about plant medicine, about how these kind of initiatory experiences that wake up your soul actually lead into like an integration of a more whole self.
Mm,
It's very based in Jungian psychology and archetypes and probably closest to existential, but this whole like journeying, this kind of more of a shamanic type of practice and background is the core, difference in transpersonal psychology. So, and for me as a music therapist, because I focus specifically on music therapy and have masters in that as well, I see music as a modality that can take people out of the thinking mind and go directly into the soul experience. So we don't have to use as many words or conversations in order to get to the heart and make transformation. It will come up on its own. Their soul will lead it. So in a session with me, people will go into a deep altered state and then they will kind of tell me what they're seeing and I will identify, is it a past life? Is it this life? Like what part of their personality? I work a lot with internal family systems, which is Richard Schwartz's work about the parts work. And I didn't realize I was going to be doing that work. I didn't plan it. I was trained in it very briefly as part of my program. And I worked with a mentor who was an internal family systems therapist. And internal family systems is kind of the idea that at different parts in our life, different parts of our personality step forward and take charge. So we have like a manager that comes through to kind of get us through hard times. We've got the firefighter when we've got, things that are going crazy and we need to kind of dispel any like fear or negative energy. These parts can sometimes, in their wounding, kind of get stuck and hold us in patterns that maybe we unconsciously don't realize or don't want. So in my work, a lot of times I started noticing people were going into past lives. They would come in with an intention, like one woman came in with an intention to like free her voice and get herself. She's like, I always get myself in relationships where she can't use her voice. And we were taken to a past life. She'd seen it before, but in this version, she saw herself being strangled. And so she's like, oh, wow, that I didn't realize that happened. And then she saw herself as a young child in this life, not being allowed to use her voice. And so
Mhm.
we saw that part. I didn't lead this at all, and I never do, and it always happens this way. We saw that part at different points of her experience with me. Her journey is kind of like being in a movie. And this part like grew up over the course of like our experience, and at the end received this like amazing ball and like just this integration and healing of this past life and then this life. We gave that part a new role. You know, what do you choose? She's like, I want to sing. It was a healthier way to express my voice. And that sometimes she had that one session and it was it. Like she made the change. There's a transformation. There's some kind of energetic shift. She wakes up and she's like, I'm in a different world. And that
Mhm.
is happening more and more in my work. You don't know how it's going to show up,
Mhm.
but that parts work is also kind of like an interesting addition to transpersonal in that like there's you can use all these different modalities and then put them into an altered state, whether it be this through music, which is non-psychotropic, or through some type of like plant medicine, potentially even as well. Like that's, obviously we want to stick with stuff that's available and legal.
Right.
Then that could really, it really, really changes people's lives. They see changes within 3 to 10 days. And it's just such a beautiful thing to be part of it. And I think it's just a way to jumpstart the lessons that we come through with.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and that makes sense. And not just for my own journey, but like I went into the counseling, got my psychology degree, and then I helped people in addictions. And as I was starting to understand everything after the near-death experience, the eating disorder population, there was somebody in there. I was starting to see their past life as um, the Holocaust. And so they are exhibiting eating disorder behaviors and they couldn't figure it out. And the thing with psychology and things like that is you don't have that holistic approach. And that's where, I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't have gone in this direction because even though I have the psychology, my hands are kind of tied with certain things that I can do. So I kind of went into like hypnosis, things like that, taking those courses to kind of add it to it. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
transpersonal psychology is amazing. So for sure, if I
Yeah.
had to do it again, I would do that.
I mean, it's interesting because in this culture and society, we're taught like our consciousness exists in our skull,
Mhm.
but that's very new thinking. Like historically, in this on this planet, for tens of thousands of years, people have understood that there is a greater consciousness. There is something greater that we can access. I mean, every major civilization, indigenous people, all the way back to Egypt and like before that, there was an acknowledgement of that. But this kind of separation of like science and consciousness is really a disservice to us and started around in the 1600s mostly. But I sat with that today. I wrote a whole post about it because we are limited in that way. But the great thing is that you go into your private practice and you can choose whatever modality you want to bring in to start to honor that and start to explore that. People are finding that in science, in quantum science, it's starting to validate everything that we know, that there is a higher guidance that even like sound when exposed to matter like cells in the study of cymatics is showing that like your cells actually thrive when exposed to vibration and they decay faster when they're not. So I know all the studies and my passion, one of my passions is teaching people how to bridge spirituality and science together and to just know that there is research out there, massive amounts of research that actually support what we've known for a long time and what we feel in our body. So,
Mhm.
yeah, you'll always find the ways, and hypnosis is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And a lot of the healings that go on are just amazing. Like, you can't make it up. You know what I mean? It's really, truly a blessing to be able to be a part of that. So definitely. I kind of wanted to double back and go into like when you said that you chose to come back. So a lot of people might think that, they're forced to come back. And I've heard some near-death experiencers
Yeah.
say that they were forced. And when I asked the spirit guides that I work with, they said nobody is actually forced. They
Right.
may show you things to help you make up your mind to come back, but you're never actually really forced. Did
Yeah.
you feel forced at all or them doing that too? Because you said you made your own choice to come back.
We have free will. There is no question in my body that in my mind and my soul. The thing is, our soul, my soul made the choice. It wasn't my human. And it could be that, these people who feel forced, I mean, I haven't talked to them, but there's a soul choice outside of the human, and sometimes it gets fragmented when it comes through. And that's why these things like our life path unfolds the way it does because our soul is directing, but we are also in collaboration with our soul body. And even when we don't know it, right? Because we partner with our higher self in order to exist here and have the contrast of the human experience so that we can expand our light, so that we can grow beyond what we were. Because in the light, everything is perfect, everything is peaceful. There's no contrast, there's no need for expansion. However, here, what we're doing is very important. Like we are, through our lived experience, are actually expanding, continually expanding the light of what is the universe, whatever you want to call it. Like, so that was shown to me in a vision. But yeah, it's like I didn't feel pressured at all. And in fact, at first, I think I was thinking, oh, I want to stay, right? That's my initial. And I think everybody that I've talked to that had a
Mhm.
choice will say that, like, oh, this is the illusion, that was the reality. And so so my soul chose for me. It wasn't until after the choice was made that I received human feeling. It was very clear to me because then I was like overwhelmed with gratitude, and I didn't have or need gratitude from the place of soul expression because everything was perfect.
Mhm.
So, I think some things can get lost in translation maybe through the human, and I recognize that too, but for me it didn't feel like a force. It was a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I came to understand, that was also a choice for me because I have the memory of choosing, not just before I came into this lifetime, but then also again,
Yeah.
my soul chose to come back from the near-death experience. And me, the human self, was like, oh my God, no. So there can be that struggle, right? With the soul, yes, and the human self, no. So how do we work on that? How do we navigate that? If even after, having a death experience and knowing, because I know sometimes there's times where I'm like, well, I wish I had not come back. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, and I think a lot of near death experience, or some of them at least, I can't speak for them, but some of them have talked about that they struggle with being back here actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially at the beginning of your integration, right? Like when you've experienced something so amazing and just want to return to it. I had a download the other night. It was actually just a couple nights ago. Personally, have been going through a very, very hard time personally with some stuff going on in my life, and I was really sad and upset, and I decided to do this process of the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is the
Mm,
forgiveness prayer from Hawaii, whereas you look at a part of yourself that may have been hurt or may have contributed to something that's going on in life, because it's the radical belief that we control this. Like even if our human doesn't, our soul does. It's this radical acknowledgement of anything that we've contributed. So I looked in myself and I looked at these parts of myself that were vulnerable and were sad or were hurt, and I told them, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I felt it in the body. I knew the experience, like the that version of me that was scared. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. After I did that for about an hour, I left my body and I was shown many things. I was shown like the expansion of my soul. My soul body looked down on my human. And even though I felt imperfect and I felt scared as a human, and I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I'm sitting in all this uncertainty, my soul was like, I love you. Like, look at your life. Look what you've done. You've lived your path. You're choosing love. At every turn, you are choosing love. I'm so proud of you. And it was interesting because there were three parts to my soul body, which I haven't witnessed before. It was like my soul was looking down at my human, which is the second part. And then there was a third energy connected to all of it. It's all part of me. Like it was blue. And I was like, okay. And what I heard was that the illusion is believing we are outside of the design. The human agreed, like in coming into this, that this was going to happen. The soul directs it. The human chooses how to respond, right? So we have a choice. We can choose fear or we can choose love. And to continually choose the loving path, that is the challenge. To continually choose the path that brings us closer to our soul, that is the solution. And so every time that we use our free will to choose the loving response, even when we're in the pain, even when we're in the discord, even when we're like, why am I here? Like, really, to choose that is actually creating a higher design for your life stream. And every time you choose it, you get, you move into the like higher expression of your life, the higher frequency, you can pull in better things. And that's when faith comes in, like to just believe and trust. I know it's hard, but there are signs everywhere. My book has a whole chapter on like how to find the signs, how to see them. Um, Complete acceptance and surrender and knowing that like whatever happens, it's going to be for the highest and greatest good, even if it doesn't look like it and there's no way we can understand it. But that's the practice, right? That's a human experience. Faith.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I'm always getting information and then recently too, like with with kind of being like, okay, what am I going to do now? What is my life? What's my journey? What's my next step?
Yeah.
And when I don't feel things are right, and there's this feeling of this resistance there, and maybe that's not the right direction. It's like these words come in, my life is not my own. And it's just trying to remind me that, I have that soul that's trying to direct my life and to help me bring myself back to, okay, not when I feel that resistance, I know I'm kind of stepping out of alignments, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
What's interesting about resistance, fear, and doubt just came through in a meditation for me, if I can share.
Sure.
It's that like at Naropa, we learn to sit with the discomfort, like whatever comes through. That's part of meditation. That's part of the life experience, is like allowing instead of pushing away or thinking something is bad or wrong, we sit with the discomfort of what is. And I was having a hard time with that because I was feeling resistance during this meditation. I was feeling fear, and I was like, I just want to be at a higher frequency. So I was tapping into this higher frequency. I was very much in it. It felt so good. And then fear came forward, and I had to make a choice, and I'm like, okay, I accept fear. I allow it to stay in this frequency with me. And when I did, fear spoke to me and said, I am needed. And it showed me what it looked like because I see things in light and color and frequency. And it was this really like solid band of energy. It was like really fast moving, really intense. And I was told, you need me to get over the threshold. Fear shows up when you're ready to cross the threshold. And I was like, okay. And then resistance showed up. So I just allowed fear to exist and it just kind of melted into the frequency. And then resistance came through, and resistance was like, you need me for pacing. When your human isn't ready, stay with the resistance, allow the resistance to be there because it's actually preparing your human body for when you're actually ready. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I let it exist in the frequency. And then doubt came forward. And I was told by doubt, I saw it was like a little, like a band, like a darker band, very thin band of frequency. And the message was, I keep you human. Because when you go into these higher states, it was talking to me, as my human. Like when I go into the higher states, for me to come back, I need a filter in which to integrate it onto the planet and share with people. So, so that is what I learned from that. And it was just a fascinating kind of new way for thinking about, about that. And what's interesting is the next day I got a call from a producer and she's like, I have this amazing show for you. So something about being in the frequency, allowing the discomfort, and also with the Ho'oponopono, I cried that whole time. I was clearing the vessel, right? I'm clearing the vessel so I can hold that higher frequency. So I just encourage people, like, if you're going through it, just know there's nothing wrong with you to feel that way. Like, it's part of the process of being human. It's like, again, how do you respond? How do you allow it to be without pushing it away? How do you accept the wisdom of it without letting it be a block? You see? So I
Yeah.
just wanted to share that too, because that was a pretty big one for me. Like I was like, oh my gosh, mind blown. I thank you for that.
Yeah, I love how you explain that, like with the frequencies and the energy, because everything holds a frequency and energy and vibration. And like if we tune into like how it feels, or at least that's what I do, and it's like, okay, where am I on? There's a scale. You probably are familiar with it. Knowing frequency and tones and things like that. Our emotional scale. Where are we on that? And I'm just allowing it. And I think when we try to push away fear, because a lot of people don't want to be in fear, people don't want to be in hate, they don't want to be in all these emotions, but yet that's separating us instead of accepting that part of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard something recently, and this kind of like works with our emotion too. Like the best counter for the dark is to shine your light more. It's
Mm-hmm.
not to withdraw or hold back. It's not to say, this doesn't exist. It's like, how do I stay in my highest frequency so that I can call in the things that I really want to attract? And it really does make a huge difference. I use oils every day. I do like spiritual readings and blessings. The bowls, the crystal bowls, music, like dance, art, all these things to just remember like that is our connection to something higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, that a
Yeah.
lot of times right now people feel like there's not much they can do for the world. It's a very, very, very intense time of contrast. And
Mm-hmm.
there are many people who, like me, are going through individual experiences that could be like a Hallmark movie. I mean, like you wouldn't even friggin' believe what's happening in lives and in our life alone. Like, right? It's just in the end, why? Oh, because it's preparing us. It's preparing us to be more fully in our light, more fully in our light body so that we can create something new, something beautiful, something um, more peaceful and loving, and where the whole person is seen and people are loved for their differences rather than seen as like berating others for differences. Like that we are so much more alike than we are different. And I believe that in this time of discord, a lot of division has been placed upon us. Um, that we're just we consume it. We are constantly seeing and consuming information faster than we can really like digest or integrate it. That's why there's been an increase in sound healing and meditation and yoga. People are starting to reach out to these things to try to integrate this information. And there's a rise in the balance. Like when there is darkness, there is always light to counterbalance it, is always available. And so I would just say be on the lookout for those experiences of light, for those teachings of light, because I like Jack Canfield said, he wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He is a client and friend of mine, and I interviewed him on the show last week, and he said, always look for the balance. There's always light when some loss happens or there's darkness, and just you need to be able to identify it.
Yeah.
And that
That's
might
like
take
the
practice.
Yeah, yeah, and that makes sense. We have duality, we have the light and the dark. So when there is that, where there's always, the bright side of the situation, and to look towards that to get out of the darkness.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we are definitely going through a lot of shifts and a lot of things going on right now. And for me, it's like the only thing that we may not have control over it. The only thing we really do have control over is our own self, how we react, respond, and kind of just go from there.
Yeah.
But
Jack does, he said just that. He's like, even if you can't imagine how you can be grateful for an experience, he will say, like, act as if you created it,
mhm,
or your soul created it. If you created it, how would you act differently? How would you, this is a message for me right now. Like, I feel it. Like, if my soul created this experience that I'm going through, like, how can I live my best expression of my light and myself through it, even though it's the hardest thing I've ever done, you know?
yeah. A lot of people can say, because we do say, we create our experience, our realities, we sign up for our experiences, and some people will like, I would never ever sign up for
Exactly.
that, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm, and that's exactly what my husband has been, experiencing as he goes through this debilitating, um, ridiculously wild experience of his health. Um, because it's gone on for so long, he's like, I wouldn't have asked for this. And so that's the piece that when you're in it, like, is so hard to accept and see. And you may choose to believe that or you may not, based on where you are and how you're doing with your experience. But just the practice of acting as if, even if you can't really believe it fully in the moment, it shifts something. It shifts something. And then we're able to connect to higher frequencies. And over time, discernment of thoughts, moving out of the negative mindset and the spiral of the thought, which is meditation, obviously, and sound healing and all the things like that. But that's how we start to kind of rise through it, you
Mhm.
know? You're so right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of want to go back to this because I want to, and maybe somebody might ask this question. You said when you chose to come back, you said your father might not actualize. Can you expand on that, what that means?
That's what it was. They just said, like, that was the only information I was given, was that everything would be right. My soul was choosing it, so my human didn't need to understand it. Everything would be made right. It would be okay if I chose to stay. It wasn't like, oh, if you don't come, like, it would have been made right somehow. I don't know what that would look like. I just was shown that our paths were somehow linked. And I was shown that, and I was shown we create our reality, that most of what we think is like a distraction. I was, told that we are God in human form. I was told so much stuff like that were needed right now, that I was coming back to help with a very unprecedented time in spirituality on earth. That there will be more of us, coming.
Hmm.
And I also was told things about people in my family that, ended up being true. So yeah, it was just part of it. I don't even know that I can really understand what it would have meant, because that's a different reality.
Right, right. Yeah. And like even if it wasn't maybe something that would have happened in his lifetime, if that's what it was proposing towards, there's always, from my understanding, other opportunities like a plan B. That was something that came early in my awakening when I came back. There's always a plan B. Something
There's
else will be
always,
worked out, because everything's perfectly divine and orchestrated. So
yeah,
even if it doesn't happen in this lifetime, there's other opportunities.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And I kind of like also like like things that you're talking about, like the light, the void, the no, not having a body. I had that experience as well.
Yeah.
And then Mark Pitstick, I did an interview with him, and he talked about the light. And as a child, he talked about how
Mhm.
he always admired the sun. And when I moved to the Clearwater Beach, I sat there and observed after meditating, and everybody lined up to the beach and just watched the sunset. There's just something about the light. Like everybody's just drawn to it. It's really interesting, whether it's in the human form, or, on the other side, there's just something about the light. Like for me, it's
Oh,
like this love, this intelligence, this beingness.
yeah. Yeah, it's a reminder, a remembrance of what we are
Hmm.
outside of this human life. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching one of your interviews, and you were talking about the I am affirmations. Can you go into that a little bit?
That's so funny. I just picked up my book. Um, yeah, I was brought into this work and the reconnection with the I am like after my divorce. And it was kind of a fascinating experience. I was invited to go to this International Association for Near-Death Studies, and I didn't know I was about to go through a divorce. I went and, mystical experiences brought me there. And when I got there, the woman who brought me there gave me these three books, and she answered a question that I had put out into the universe just a few weeks before. I had asked, what are the angels trying to show me? Because they were showing up in different formations in my sessions. And I was like, okay, why are they showing up in concentric rows? Why are they showing up in concentric circles? Why are they in rows and rows holding a staff? Like, what does it mean? And she handed me these three books a few weeks later and told me these are going to show you, these are going to tell you what the angels are trying to show you. And I was like, wow, awesome. So that I had been given a reading by the woman next to me at the booth next to me, and she said, go home and write your husband all the reasons that you love him. And I went home and I did that and I signed my name. And I didn't think anything of it. I knew we had been kind of going through stuff, but I didn't think. But the minute I signed my name, he walked in from work and he said he wanted a divorce. And I was like shocked. We had three kids. I had no idea it was coming. I was devastated. And that night, I pulled out these three books and I started reading. And I got to this page where I said a prayer. It was like, I now joyously accept the fullness of my mighty God presence, the pure Christ consciousness. I am a child of the light. I live in the light. I love the light. I serve the light. I'm illumined, protected, supplied, sustained by the light, and I bless the light. And the moment that I did that blessing, these three angelic beings appeared behind me. One of them was super tall, and uh, it was the same golden light from the other side. And whew, it's getting to me. They said you don't have to be loved by one person to know that you're loved. And I remember getting that message again and feeling like I was being visited again. And then I read the books. I just started from the beginning. I was told that I'd be blessed, they'd watch over me. And um, my gifts started exponentially changing. I started getting massive messages for the world and the universe, and I just started sharing them, like first to my mentor, and then now I share messages like as often as they come on my social media. Like I'm like, okay, I got this download last night. I got this, I got that. And it's like I'm so grateful because these messages just keep coming through. But these books were not connected to one religion or another. They're based in some of the teachings that Jesus came here to share, that we have the I am within us, that I am that I am light. We are that God presence acting in human form. And so whenever we say the I am, anything after that is a prayer. And so we always want to keep it positive. You always want to be conscious of your words because you're co-creating with your speech and with your thoughts. And I just learned a lot about like co-creating. I learned a lot about love. It was a very validating story. It's like following someone's story of awakening. And then after that, I was taken into a very sacred form of prayer that you can access once you've read the first three books. And I found myself changed. And it's a beautiful, they're called the I Am Discourses. They're through the Saint Germain Press. Don't buy them anywhere else. Buy them there because it's like they have the first volume free. It's just a fascinating way to connect to the teachings of the I Am, which I think everyone should know. Everyone.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and I love that you put those into affirmations. I haven't tried that yet. When I was living in the Buddhist Center for 5 years, that's when I first started getting information on I am. And I haven't, I have channeled writings, but I don't actually use it as an affirmation. So I think I'm going to try that. So I'm glad that you put that out there.
Every day, all the time, constantly. And there are certain affirmations that are already written out that you gain access to once you read through the books. And like I write more about that in my book, write more about the mysteries and the messages that come through these teachings. And interestingly enough, every time that I meet with another light worker that is really, really powerful in their craft and they understand why they're here, almost all of them have been exposed to these books at some point, and I just didn't, I never knew about them. It's, and
Beautiful.
I keep them as like way of doing decrees now, and just prayers of light. It's just a way to enhance your light. That's all.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I understand that you're going through, you're making a video or a movie.
So I have a
Summary.
TV show that's coming out
TV
on
show?
the Spark network. It's on every like smart TV. You can download the app Spark. It's a paranormal network started by Jack Osborne, and I have a show called Life After Life with Ellen, and I do interview different near-death experiencers, and Jack Canfield came on as a special guest for one of my shows. It's should be up by this weekend. You can watch it for free with ads, or you can like pay to watch the series without ads. I'm really proud of it. I'm like so proud of this show because the messages that people bring through are needed right now. And it's not just for people who are interested in near-death experiences, it's for people who want to understand how to navigate life right now. So I'm super proud. Like I believe that it will be well received. I have a book. It's called Waking Up in Heaven, Living with Purpose Through Afterlife Wisdom. It's the pink one on Amazon. There's like a I also it's in bookstores too. You can order it through Barnes and Noble and stuff like that, but it's pink. And then I'm in the movie Beyond the Grave. So Beyond the Grave is an exploration of what happens after death. It's a documentary. It won the Best Paranormal Film of the Year at the Cannes Film Festival in 2023. But I have like just a little bit of my story in there. There are other near-death experiencers. It's really fascinating journalistic view of what happens. So, and I also like have an ongoing meditation group. I do downloads of light every Wednesday on Substack, and it's also an offering I do. Like it's $11 a month, and people get 3 meditations a month, and I'm really proud because I bring downloads in directly. So I'm really proud of that as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, you're doing a lot. You're busy.
Yeah.
Um, is there any other topics or any messages from angels and guides that they would like to share?
Yes, absolutely. The message is that every experience in life is an opportunity for you to become closer to your God presence. And so if you ever need help with that or you ever have questions, I'm here to provide support, answers. But just know that we are so, so deeply loved. And that love is always accessible. Even in your darkest moment, there is always love for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
You're welcome.